This is a Gear Network production. Well, gang, it's October, and you know what that means. Cooler air, falling leaves, and, of course, Halloween. Right now, our Amazon Halloween store has everything you need for the adult, child, or even the pet in your life. Everything from costumes to candy, bags to accessories, and more is available through us, and you can have it delivered right to your front door just in time for that fateful Saturday in October. And right now, save 20% on select Halloween costumes and have your items delivered with free 2-day shipping when you sign up for your free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime. Go to gearnetwork.com/holiday and click the banner. It will take you directly to our Halloween store, and you can take advantage of all of the savings, including daily lightning deals that take place directly on that page. And of course, with every purchase, you support this network and all of our podcasts. So again, gearnetwork.com, click on the Gear Holiday Store up on the top banner there, and go ahead and shop away and save, and help us along the way. Happy Halloween from all your friends here at the Gear Radio Network.
Five, four,
three.
No, it's a silent three.
No, you don't say 2 or 1. Oh, you don't say 3?
No, I don't think you say 3. I think it's 5, 4.
Okay. All right. We'll do it one more time, okay?
Okay, yep.
All right.
Yep, ready.
And 5, 4.
Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of Misguided Musings, where this week, Tom, Matt, and I will explore drugs, and then we'll talk about the school systems of America. Get ready to be misguided? Because we are Misguided Musings. Hey guys, how's everybody going this week?
Good. How about yourself, man?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing wonderful myself. So before we get started, and I ask you guys if anything interesting's happened to you this week, I had a perfect thought today. It's Sunday, and all the injury reports for football came out this week. And I drive like 600 miles a week sometimes, and so I've got a lot of time in the car to think, which is dangerous. And something funny happened. I thought, what if I had to submit an injury report every week for myself, or like I had to have people submit injury reports for their work performance this week. So like, for instance, I would submit my injury report and be like, Jordan is probable with mud butt this week, or Matt, you would submit your injury report and say you'd be like day-to-day with hangover-like symptoms, stuff like that. So, I thought about some of the fun injuries people would have, like gout.
Punctured foreskin.
I think it get pretty serious pretty quickly, though. I mean, Tom is out today with serious depression.
Yeah, it could be. It could go ugly very quick.
He's unmotivated.
Yeah, it's like, hey, where's the belt? Yeah. Oh, crap, Tom has a belt. Get in the closet.
Yeah, right.
He's doing the Robin Williams.
We got to get you on suicide watch.
Oh, no.
I did notice Tom growing a little bit extra hair in these arms recently.
That's
I think there's a correlation with
I was wondering where he was going with that. It didn't make sense at first.
Yeah, no, I don't know either. That's why I jumped in with the masturbation comment, because that never ends badly. But no, so seriously...
It's supposed to be the ultimate orgasm. That's all I hear. I have never tried
arm hair?
I don't know what your kinks are.
Erotic asphyxiation is what they call it.
Oh, okay. All right.
David Carradine.
Yeah. So anyway, that thought crossed my head, so I was thinking of some fun things that people could say, and obviously, Matt, you'd call in sick, or you'd be day-to-day with external vagina or penis issues. So
punctured foreskin, as I mentioned earlier, that one always works.
Well, it sucks when you get caught in a zipper. Anyway, anything interesting from you guys before we get into drug problems?
Oh, my dog died.
That could lead to drug issues.
Yeah, it was a sad day.
I do feel bad for you guys.
I feel bad, man, too.
It was a sad day. Cody got run over by a car. He got out of the house and got run over.
I mean, is that something that you could then send in to your boss and say, I'm day to day with a dead dog?
It's not technically an injury except to my heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
now I'm kind of an asshole for bringing that up, I guess.
just make sure you have the funeral on Monday.
I guess
You do get 2 days off. for
Bereavement,
family
yeah,
member
no,
dies.
bereavement, yeah.
I'm not sure it extends to pets though.
If you just say my Cody died, he has no idea who my Cody is.
Yeah, it's true. And plus, if there are any lawyers, maybe we could explore. I don't know, the legality of bereavement for pets.
We should bring it to the ACLU.
I think we should.
Matt, anything from you this week?
No, but Tom mentioned about the. I mean, obviously, I feel sad about the dog, but talking about being hit by a car, I remember one time in high school, Tom actually hit a kid who was stoned in his parking lot, and
I think he hit me.
Yeah, because that's what I hear. You said he jumped on the car, so was he trying to commit Harry-Carry? Speaking of suicides from earlier,
I was just driving along, you know what I mean? And, I can't help if stoned people want to, jump onto my car clavicle first.
Matt,
I've never been high.
With that kid?
Yeah, so but that's the thing about it. I've never been high. I've been just like, oh, I'm just going to jump on this car.
So, people have different reactions to different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people just get stoned and, get really nervous.
Obviously, it wasn't a high. It was a downer for him. So I was in class with him, and basically, Tom had told me the story, and the next week I go into class, and there's one of the students is in a sling. You broke his collarbone, right?
No, technically he broke his collarbone on my car.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for.
It's all in the technicalities there. You got to pay attention.
All right. Okay. So we're in class, and the kid was like, yeah, I got it injured. And we're like, oh, but what happened to you? And he was like, well, a car. And I was like, hey, my friend Tom was the one that hit you, right? Oh, I know this story. And I'm like, yeah, you got really stoned, and you jumped on his car. Well, what the hell were you doing, dude? Were you trying to commit suicide? And he got like all embarrassed, and he got all red-faced, and obviously, people are like, well, you were stoned? And he was no, I wasn't stoned. I just had a couple of drinks. I just jumped on the car, but your friend was going really fast, and he kind of came out of nowhere. And I was like, my friend was just driving into this driving lot. I mean, that's parking lot. I mean, that's basically what you're supposed to do with a car, and you just jumped on the car.
Well, I mean, in his defense, I did try to scare him. You know what I mean, to make it look like I was coming at him. But I was
okay.
Wait
a minute.
Far away.
You said he jumped in front of the car.
All right.
You're changing the story.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on this shit, and we don't need Tom going to prison because hopefully we'll have more than one episode of this podcast.
Happened 30 years ago.
Listen. 30 years ago.
Deaf car with Tom Ivy.
Is there a statute of limitations on broken clavicle? I don't.
Well, it's healed now, so it's not broken. So technically, whatever has been broken has been replaced or repaired in new condition. So.
Listen to me. He sounds like Ted Kennedy right now. He was like, "Well, he broke his clavicle. I was just trying to fear him, changing the story 3 or 4 times."
Matt, let's not get into you changing stories, because if I remember correctly, we were all once pulled over by a police officer because you mooned an Asian man in Quincy, and you changed that story probably 4
I don't
or 5
think it
times
matters
right in front of
what
the cop.
ethnicity the gentleman was. I pulled down my pants.
Right.
I was 16 years old.
You mooned a person in the middle of a parking lot of a train station.
Hey, I was feeling good about my ass. I was in pretty good shape back then. I had nice little lamb chops. And I don't know, you dared me, and I was like, oh, I'll be the clown. And I dropped trow. And,
of course you did. Of course you did.
I showed great old behind. And, of course, a cop happened to see it, drove right up. And I think Jordan's got the story from there because, obviously, I'm going to change it not to humiliate myself.
I think the best part is the guy gets out of the car and he goes, you, get the fuck over here. And he's pointing at Matt.
It's like cursing at me.
And he goes,
very unprofessional.
He goes, are you a fucking diddler? And I am crying at this point because Matt is freaking out. And he goes, do you want to go to jail as a sex offender?
Oh, no.
Do you know what they do to you people? You're going to have to register and go tell your neighbors that you're a diddler. Do you want to do that? And Matt goes, my belt, it's broken. And the guy goes, don't fucking lie to me. I just saw you. And Matt's like, I'm sorry. I was just being a teenager. And then the cop's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And Matt goes, I'm sorry. My pants were falling down. I was running. And,
I kept on lying.
Oh my God. He changed his story 4 or 5 times. And we're all laughing and terrified because this cop is being kind of a dick. And then, he asked Matt for his ID, and Matt goes, "I don't have ID." And so that was that.
That was back when
Poor
my
Matt.
accent was a lot more prevalent.
Yeah, right, yeah. Off the boat.
He's now a citizen, so
Right, he
huzzah.
is. Congratulations on that this year.
Thank you.
All right, guys, what do you say we explore some drugs?
Okay, let's talk about some Azure.
I thought we were like taking them and then doing the podcast.
well, then you failed to have him delivered to my house.
All
well,
right,
they are
I guess
cheap,
we can just
and I'm
talk
sure
about
you
them
can
then.
get it down the street.
Yeah, well,
I am in Weymouth, after all. I could probably just go into the corner,
in fact, there's probably some remnants in a needle in your gutter.
It probably is. There probably is.
Okay, so we quite clearly have a drug problem in America, and I think part of that drug problem is that they're not legal. And I'm not saying we should legalize all drugs because
Probably decriminalize it first of all.
well, hold on. I think we as a country have already started taking steps to towards the acceptance of recreational use of marijuana. Go to Colorado, go to Washington State,
Alaska.
and I'm not sure about Alaska. I thought it was just
Nope.
decriminalized.
Alaska, they voted on it last November, and as of March 2015, so about 3-4 months, they basically opened up the first legal pot shop there. And since then, there's been a couple more that have opened, so they really expedited it.
They also have a huge problem with alcohol and drugs.
Drugs, meth.
I think this is it's an interesting state to start this in. I don't know if you've watched Alaska State Troopers anytime in the last, year or two, but all I get from that is that Alaska is a very, big place, and there are a lot of people in Alaska that do a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs. So legalization of marijuana, maybe will pacify them up there and stop making them so crazy.
Yeah, well, one of the things that they're doing in these states is they're obviously putting a state tax on top of, the consumption. So if you go buy like half an ounce, or there's going to be like a 15 or 20% tax. Some states, Washington, for instance, has a 25% tax, using 50% of that towards substance treatments for people, state money to put towards people that are addicted, and then the other 50% obviously going to schools. And they're hoping in certain states, state of Washington is also in the state of emergency with drug users. They're hoping that this will help curb the epidemic that is, the heroin that we have here in the United States. And believe it or not, the state that we're from, Massachusetts, is considered one of the worst states for it. And there's many different reasons or beliefs. The heroin epidemic has gotten so bad over the last few years. Prescription medications, OxyContin, people being addicted to OxyContin. I was reading this statistic the other day. Nearly half the people that are addicted to heroin were once addicted to prescription medications.
Absolutely.
And the crazy thing about it is back in, the 70s, heroin was basically a drug that was urban. Basically, it happened in projects, people that were addicted to it, rock stars did it, beatniks. It wasn't really a drug that you would get in the suburbs. Now it's very different. Heroin addict could be a construction worker, a person who works in the office. And basically the reason for this, as I said, many different theories, the belief that people got addicted to prescription medications, especially OxyContin. I mean, doctors were basically given OxyContin out to everyone. Basically anybody who had any pain, they were prescribing OxyContin to them. When it first came out, they said it wasn't addictive. And the reason for that too, and you got to understand from the doctor's point of view, the doctor is, basically dealing with a patient that is a customer, and obviously they want to relieve the pain of that person. So they were just giving it out like it was candy. Sure, take two a day.
What's funny is I think the other side to that is doctors are looking at drug trials. Doctors are looking at the information that they're receiving from pharmacy technicians and reps who are coming to their store, their practices, and they're saying, this drug is completely safe. it passed all the drug trials. The FDA's, said that this is this great drug and it's used for people with back pain. Oh, you stubbed your toe and you hurt your foot pretty bad? Well, yeah, you give them Oxy. And they were prescribing it for everything at first.
Yeah.
And now that it's on the controlled substance list, I think, they're starting to realize, some of the problems that you're having with Oxy. But this isn't the first drug that doctors have prescribed or used for pain relief. Wasn't it cocaine that doctors were prescribing?
Back in the 1920s,
as a pain reliever. And, now, look at what cocaine actually is. You've got people who, if they're addicted to something, they'll chop it up and snort it.
Yeah.
They'll do whatever they can to get their next high. And it's easy because a doctor will prescribe 30 of them to somebody who's hurt their back. And that's that.
And have you ever seen those pharmacy dealers before? Have you ever been to the doctors and you've seen them come in with the suitcases, the briefcases, and it's all filled with, samples of, whatever prescription drugs there is, all the opiates. Have you seen what they look like? They're always these gorgeous, blonde, big-titted bombshells. And they go in there and they just fucking get right at the doctor and try to sell them, and they use
that's not always true. Let's not. I mean,
oh no, I'm basically just basing this on I've talked to a few people about this, and they've.
Wasn't there a movie about this? Wasn't there?
Movie? But I wouldn't refer
that was
to a Hollywood film. I think it had Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway in it.
Yeah, I'm not attracted to Jake Gyllenhaal.
I can't fathom that movie actually existing and making money, but it did.
All I could think of is Heather Locklear. Yeah,
let's get back on. Yeah, Jesus Christ, let's get back on topic, I guess, huh? So, what are some of the solutions? I mean, the war on drugs is not working.
No.
We're spending all this money, and drugs are still coming in through Mexico and through some of these other channels.
And Afghanistan.
Afghanistan was a huge provider of heroin.
Yeah, and the poppy seeds.
Right, and so what are we experiencing as a people? And do we stop the war on drugs? And I mean, obviously, we're not making all drugs legal. You can't, because there are drugs that shouldn't exist legally. Marijuana, I don't really care. You can't die from marijuana unless somebody drops a ton of it, a literal ton, 2,000 pounds of marijuana, off of a building onto your head. You can't.
I'm sure you could lace it. I'm sure it could be laced with.
Well, driving it too. I don't think you should be driving high.
No. I mean, you should have the same restrictions. If you smoked pot, you should have the same restrictions that an alcoholic, or not alcoholic, but someone who's consumed alcohol should have.
Should regulate it.
It's not as easy to test for because it's metabolized and it's in your system for a day or two after, or even a week, I think, in some people after you smoke. So there's no effective breathalyzer for THC.
Is if you could pull somebody over and a cop could have the belief or the suspicion that you are high on marijuana and brings you down to the police station and makes you take a drug test.
Now, here's the thing, right? The Supreme Court has ruled on this, at least in Massachusetts. I'm not sure where else. I don't know if it was the Massachusetts State Supreme Court, but a police officer can no longer arrest you under suspicion of marijuana use based on smell. So if an officer pulls you over, there's no way to justifiably do that and either search your car or detain you. They have to have hard proof that you are driving under the influence of marijuana. So, and that gets into a very slippery slope because all a cop has to do is say, well, I suspected he was high. I'm putting him on a 24-hour layover like you do with somebody who's drunk. And that shit goes on your record. You don't want to give them that power, especially with the issues that we're having nowadays. Be it we're only seeing the incident after it's already started most of the time. But look at all these videos of police officers that are being posted. And they beat this person because he jaywalked. Well, was he jaywalking or was he doing something different? And
before the video started recording, or
And so I don't think we should be giving them that power, but at the same time, there's got to be a way for us to figure something out in that respect.
I think that legalization of like marijuana, for instance, it's what it's helping to do right now is it's starting to create a whole industry. Yeah, well, revenue, but it's creating a whole industry that's generating revenue, right? And it's going to kind of spur innovation in a couple of different areas where before there might not have really been a need for, some sort of like breathalyzer for THC. I'm sure that now that it's, becoming law, or, it's becoming legal rather, there will be, companies that will jump on the opportunity to develop, things related to it.
Let's be clear. It's not necessarily becoming legal. It's legal in 3 states. It's decriminalized in quite a few. It's allowed for use as medical purposes. But it's definitely not legal, and especially on the federal level. It's not legal. And I don't know. I mean, I watched the last Republican debate because I'm a sucker for punishment. And for me, I think one of the better parts of the debate was where they talked about states' rights versus the 14th Amendment. Is this something that we should be sending federal, troops in, DEA, to shut down all these legal shops that are legal in their state, but technically not legal, based on the federal government. So just some thoughts there. I mean, the other thing is you've got a lot of people, nonviolent offenders, who are in jail because of this, and I mean we're spending a ton of money on people in jail, and a lot of the times what's happening is you're getting somebody who's arrested for smoking pot or dealing pot on the street, and they're going to jail and getting hooked on harder drugs.
Yeah, but basically, I read a story in New York, and there was a person who was a professional. He lived in New York City, obviously didn't have a car, so he was riding on his bike one day, and he went over a red light. Cop pulled him over. I'm glad he did, because, that's another show, but, bike rider rights. And
I'm not a huge fan of using New York as an example, because New York is typically a state that they remove the liberties of their citizens. For example, stop and search was legal up until recently, where you could be stopped on the street under suspicion that you might be carrying a weapon. Well, excuse me, but I could fucking look at anybody on the street and go, "Oh, you're carrying a weapon, I'm going to search you." And the ACLU put together a bunch of statistics, and I got to be honest, I haven't paid too close attention to them since stop and search has been made illegal. But they were saying that the majority of these stops were of minority race and ethnicity, and so you've got Latinos, and I think they said a lot of black,
young African Americans,
and it was a lot,
Muslims
a lot of
too.
Right, and it's all under the suspicion that, oh well, you look like you might be carrying a weapon, so I'm going to stop and check you. And, I don't think any of those stop and searches really did any good. I think it actually made relations between, the people of New York and the police of New York a little more tense than you would expect. And I think there's still...
But if you look at the hard data, those stop and searches, they brought crime down drastically. So what
do we give up as a people then? Do we give up the right for us to be able to walk down the street without any fear of being, I don't want to say persecuted, but without any fear of being checked, searched, because, someone might be illegally carrying a gun? Well, what happens if me as a gun owner is carrying concealed in Massachusetts, which is the only way you're allowed to carry a gun legally in Massachusetts? And an overzealous rookie cop stops me, searches me, finds out that I've got a gun, and doesn't do his homework, and now I'm sitting in the back of a police car because he didn't check to make sure that I had my license on me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but I know that statistic is out there that the crime did go down in New York, but let's be honest with you, that crime is going down in general. Right. I mean, some cities the crime has risen, other cities it's decreased. I guess it fluctuates back and forth, but for the most part, in the United States of America, for the last 25 years, crime has been going down. Crime has especially been going down in New York, and I don't think it has anything to do with stop and search. I think a lot of that has to do with the gentrification. Another episode, we can talk about that. Back to heroin, or one of the stereotypes people think of heroin addicts. They think it's, the person who comes from, the rough side of the town. But these new heroin addicts, especially in the last 10 years, are not. They're people who live in the suburban areas, and they're people who were professional, had great jobs.
Well, not only that, but for instance, I mean, there are at least 3 or 4 people who went to school with us. Now, I won't say that they were in our grade, but they were in the last 3 or 4 years. They had graduated about 3 or 4 years, either ahead or behind us. So we'll say 2, give or take 2. So we'll say 2 ahead of us, 2 behind us. In that time frame, there's quite a few people who died of heroin overdose who went to school with us. These are just young kids who, got into it, and I feel like there's got to be something behind the pickup in heroin use other than the fact that it's cheap. And obviously, there's that, pot's the gateway drug, blah, blah, blah. I don't put any stock into pot being a gateway drug because I drink. I just opened up a beer. And for me, I don't feel like, alcohol's not my gateway drug. I'm not moving on to harder things, maybe unless I start to drink some scotch or some bourbon. So I don't know too much more about that other than there's got to be a reason that that heroin use is growing other than the fact that maybe it's cheaper than pot. I don't know. I've never
It's $5 a bag. It's cheaper than cough syrup. And Massachusetts, as I said, was one of the hardest hit states. We had 1,000 people die from overdose of heroin last year, 2014. They're predicting for 2015. They're estimating maybe close to 1,300. This is an epidemic. And, the town that we were from, Quincy, is one of the hardest hit towns.
Along with Weymouth. It's the area. Quincy, Weymouth, and... But
no, it's not the area, because what's one
absolutely.
Of the worst areas in the whole United States for heroin? It's Western Mass. Believe it or not, Western Mass has some of the worst.
I'm saying that the area has gotten to be one of the worst in Massachusetts. When you look at the South Shore, which is where the 3 of us are located, typically, Matt, you're technically in Boston, but what I would say is that, what we're looking at is Weymouth, Quincy, Pembroke, Hanson, those areas, Abington, Braintree, they're all getting bad with this because, it's so easy to find it. And I think it's because there's so much of it coming in. Clearly the war on drugs is not doing its job. No. And I think we kind of got off topic a little bit, kind of going in and getting lost in such a big issue.
So how do we solve this? And Tom, I'd like for you to add, how do you think we could solve this issue, this epidemic? How do we stop it? Or not so much stop it, because there's no way that we're going to,
Well, hold on. So let me go back real quick. I did bring up prison. I brought up that a lot of nonviolent offenders are in prison right now, in that prison is oftentimes a place where you will find that drug abuse has actually gotten worse instead of better. And so maybe we need to stop sending drug offenders to prison and, in turn, spending the money on rehabilitation centers and sending heroin abusers, cocaine abusers, and whatnot to mandatory rehab instead of prison.
They did that in Portugal. They did that in Portugal in 2001. They decriminalized all drugs in Portugal. Portugal had an epidemic just as bad, if not worse, than what we're witnessing here in the northeastern United States. So in 2001, they basically decriminalized all drugs, including cocaine, heroin, basically all kind of, uncontrolled deadly substances. And since then, the rate of usage has went down 50%. And basically what they did was they took all that money that they would spend incarcerating people, put them in prison, because it does cost the state of Massachusetts $45,000 a year to put somebody in prison. they took that money and put them in rehabilitation areas, and then not also just rehabilitation centers. They also did a work program that basically put them to work, because what they noticed was that with a lot of people that were addicted to drugs, if they actually had schedules in their life, they were able to, follow it. They had discipline. They basically went to work in the morning. As soon as they got out of work, they went to meetings. And in these meetings, they spoke with other people that were witnessing the same thing, going for withdrawal, addiction. And basically that took them up to about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And then by that time, they wanted to go to bed because they were tired from work. And basically they have seen, 50% is a lot, especially for a country that had an epidemic. Now, I'm not saying that this may work here in the United States. That might have worked for Portugal. We live in different cultures. Definitely, Portugal is a much smaller country in the United States of America. But, maybe the state of Massachusetts can take some pointers.
Maybe it's just an option, I guess, is what I'm looking at.
Exactly.
It's something that I wanted to throw out there. I know I got off topic.
Because that's a success story.
Yeah, no, I know I got off topic a little bit when I brought it up quite some time ago. Tom, I do want to get any last thoughts from you before we move on.
I think that when you look at the magnitude of the problem, I think that really what you're looking at is a way to alter what the chemical does to our brains that makes it so addictive, and I think that I know there are things in research. There are compounds that are being researched now, and there are some that already exist that they cancel out the effects of these drugs and make them so that they are no longer addictive, and they make them so that people don't feel drawn to them and like hooked on them. They can kind of break the cycle, so to speak, of their dependency build up in their the chemical reactions in their brain. So
now are they sending these drugs on the streets? Like so you're saying that they're creating these drugs? Are they sending them out and it's almost like the anti-drug, or
there's different compounds always being researched. I know there are a few that are being researched that completely block the receptors that like say heroin would seek out in your brain, dopamine or whatever it is. So I know there's research on that front, and I know that they're making progress in it. I don't think that this is something that you can necessarily solve with rehab, because I feel I don't know numbers, but I know that probably a lot of the people that go into rehab are just wasting time and dollars, and will end up using again, further down the line. So,
but Tom, maybe that's something that's already happening because it's what's happening from prisoners. You have to, I think, look at it, the anti-drug, if you will, in the blocking of the receptors. If you look at, we're spending this money in prison already.
Mm-hmm.
For people to go into prison and sometimes actually come out worse than when they went in there. So if we are going into prisons and there's a drug problem in prisons, and the nonviolent offender comes out worse than when he went in, that's clearly not working too.
No, absolutely.
So maybe we need to
that's what I'm saying.
Explore a different issue or a different option. Instead of developing the anti-drug, maybe we should look closer into a rehabilitation program.
If there's a way to medically treat a dependency on a chemical, then why not go down that avenue? Because,
well, they're already doing that with methadone, and look at now.
Yeah, but
you just got people turning out for methadone.
Methadone's an imperfect. So I think Suboxone was the one that I was reading about, but those are both imperfect. We don't know what's around the corner. I'm not a medical research scientist, and I don't have access to research files that talk about what is not effective, but my feelings are, though, I've seen people go into rehab and come out and they're the same way, and you're talking about people going into prison and coming out worse. So I don't think there is a perfect method of dealing with this. I think that probably the way we're doing it is right now wrong, with sending people to prison for years for simple drug offenses anyway. But I think that the silver bullet, so to speak, will be in medical treatment down the line.
I think that's perfect.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought process, and I think we've had a lot that we can think about. Maybe this is something that we can revisit a little bit later on down the line. What I will say is that we're going to take a quick break from a sort of sponsor, and then we'll be right back.
Inside the mind of a dater.
Will he be put off by my elf ears and Renaissance role-playing?
I hope she doesn't get the wrong idea about the position of my hands during Star Trek.
How does she feel about furry bunny costumes?
All Independent Radio is encouraging you to unleash your inner geek for 5-minute dates. You will be accompanied every 5 minutes with someone who fulfills your dorky interests. So come join All Independent Radio as we unleash the geek for 5-minute dates. Thursdays, 6 to 9 p.m.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that public service announcement. I know I did, and I took some notes. Welcome back. And
My foreskin feels itchy.
Yeah, well, it also, I'm sure, feels a little itchy, so maybe you need to get checked out. Too many dirty public seats on trains and buses for you. You city-living prick. Anyway, let's get into some school stuff, right? And so at the beginning of the school year, my nephew came home with this note from his teachers, which made me want to punch things. And it was basically a note that said, if your kid wants peanut butter or popcorn or gluten, he's got to have it at home. Don't bring it to school.
Gluten's bad, okay?
Yeah, gluten is bad, okay? And kids, we need everyone to be happy, okay? And so the goal, I guess, is to ensure the safety of all the children. Peanut allergies are a very serious thing. I get it. If before I had kids, my thought process would have been like, oh, you have a peanut allergy? Well, that's natural selection. So how about you have a peanut, go to asphyxiation, and die? Now I'm kind of like,
wow.
I know,
Harsh.
right? Well, just your peanuts are such a vital part of life. I mean, you've got protein in them, and
well, for me, I eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich every single day.
Kind of reminds me of that.
Here's my thought process. I understand we're keeping kids safe, but I don't feel like parents should be restricted on sending their kids to school with a sandwich. There's gluten in bread, people, and what this school is now saying is, well, you can't bring a sandwich to school unless it's gluten-free. Have you had anything that's gluten-free, guys? It tastes like cardboard. I could literally cut 2 pieces of cardboard, put some bologna and some cheese in the middle of it, and give it as a snack for the school, and the school would be like, that's nutritious. That is great because it doesn't have gluten in it. It's ridiculous. I think it's getting crazy. And I don't know anybody who's ever had an allergy to corn or popcorn. The worst thing that happens when you eat some popcorn is you get those little, shards of shrapnel from the kernel stuck in your throat or your teeth, and you're like, and you're start digging at your teeth to get it out from underneath your gums. But other than that, aside from the gross noises, that's the worst thing that you're going to have when you eat popcorn. So I think the school overstepped its bounds, and I, as a parent, don't want to be restricted, but I also appreciate as a parent the fact that, if my daughter had an allergy to peanuts or, God forbid, she has an allergy to corn, because that's the only vegetable that I eat.
Is that a real allergy? Is corn a real allergy?
Yeah, there is people that are allergic to corn.
They're not allergic to corn.
It's in everything.
You know what? I drink. But then they can't have corn whiskey.
They can't have anything. High fructose corn syrup is derived from corn, right?
Yeah, but
right.
Let's be honest here. I don't trust anything that your body can't digest.
Well, listen. Just because you're
so you don't trust rocks, Matt. You don't trust rocks and earth.
No, you don't eat rocks. I mean, I guess
if you did,
you can't digest
eat a rock,
it.
You can't digest it.
Well, I eat
it's
salt.
Just going to come out.
That's particles
it's
of
a mineral, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a mineral.
Mineral water.
So let me. This was something quick that bothered me, and I really wanted to bring it up because we were growing up. We never had to worry about this shit. We never had to worry about. A kid would come to school with a tuna fish sandwich, and I'd punch him in the throat because I don't want to trade for that shit. But if a kid came to school with peanut butter and jelly, I was like, ooh, I got peanut butter and jelly, but yours is strawberry. Or you have fluff. Your parents must really like you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, peanut butter and fluff.
Do you remember in high school that kid brought the tuna fish sandwich come in and it would just smell really bad? And the blind kid was just like, somebody's opening up their skirt.
I'm pretty sure you imagined that. I don't know that actually
It's either that or Matt said that to himself.
He could very well have been at this point. I can't imagine that actually happened, but maybe it did.
No, but seriously, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Jordan. You know, now my daughter is actually allergic to a number of things. She's allergic to dairy. She's allergic to all nuts. She's allergic to egg, I believe, white. So. You know, I kind of have a little bit of a different perspective on this than you. You know, and something that, you know, if you had talked to me before I had kids, I probably would have agreed with you. I probably would have said, "Listen, it's not my problem. I don't know why I have to deal with it." And I think
she's allergic to eggs.
Egg white, yeah. So
don't egg her on.
Oh my God! I think the important thing is that she grows up knowing that she's allergic to nuts. So you don't have to worry about guys in the future, then, Tommy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right now there's no differentiation. I do call my nuts, I guess. So, but seriously, you know, if you had asked me this, 4 years ago, you know, my daughter's 3. If you had asked me this 4 years ago, you know, I would have been with you. But, you know, we've done a lot to teach our daughter that you can't, you know, eat certain things. They might give you, you know, a boo-boo, you know, and we're not necessarily in a situation where she would go into anaphylactic shock, at least not that we know of. Her reactions so far have been, you know, milder than that when, you know, she does come into contact with small amounts of allergens. But, you know, I'm thinking forward to school. So she's 3. She's going to be starting preschool soon, you know, kindergarten, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, I'm thinking ahead. And, you know, when she's by herself, when there are 30 or 40 kids in a classroom and there's one guardian or 2, you know, teachers or somebody, you know, watching these kids, you know, how can I really prevent my daughter from, you know, getting peanut butter and jelly from, you know, your daughter, Jordan, if they were together in class? It's just, you know what I mean? Like, your daughter will be sitting there munching away at it. She'll be, you know, hey, do you want a bite of my peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And she'll be like, will that give me a boo-boo? You know, and your daughter would be like, hey, no, doesn't give me boo-boos, have a bite. You know what I mean? You can't put the judgment in the kids'
I like that our daughters don't
necessarily
sound anything like females. It's just, I'm not gonna.
Hi, fellas. Want to try my nuts?
Yeah, that's Matt's daughter.
No, but seriously, they're not.
I eat a steroid-induced food. I have testosterone due to the chemicals in my food.
No, but seriously, they're not in a place where they can make sound judgments for themselves. You know what I mean? We have to create an environment for them where, you know, we take that out of the equation.
Yeah. No, I do. I understand it. I understand it being a parent, but I don't. You know, I mean, and right. The school has a responsibility to make sure that, you know,
to ensure the safety of the
kids that go there go home the same way. So I get it. I feel like it's a little aggravating.
But the only reason that it aggravates you is because, you know, you feel like it encroaches on your freedoms. I agree. As an American, to eat those PB&Js, man. America. PB&J. And, you know, I can respect that, but at the same time, you know, we are a community, you know what I mean? And we are supposed, I mean, when you really, you know, I guess in a perfect world, we're supposed to look out for each other. And if, you know, everybody just said, you know, F everybody else, and, you know, we didn't watch out for these things, then, you know, it wouldn't be America. You know what I mean? This would be, I don't know. Some
Sudan.
other place where we don't, Sudan, or some place we don't want to live. You know what I mean? You gotta watch out for these kids. We gotta make sure that you never know when you're gonna see the next Einstein. You know what I mean? Your daughter, you know, you don't know if she's allergic to anything right now, but what happens if she's allergic to, I don't know, milk, and then you know, she ends up being like a nuclear physicist or something. You know, but you know, she had milk when she was 1 and died or something. That would be terrible.
I think it's just,
that would be absolutely terrible. It would be such a waste of life.
If it's your body can't process milk, and so you have the shits. That's
lactose intolerant. There's a difference.
That's a different topic, I guess. So I just wanted to touch on that. It's something that was bothering me. You know, and something that you know, I know that we might have had a little bit of a back and forth on, which we did, which I appreciate your guys' input there. Matt, I'm not so shocked that your child has a lot of testosterone in an Adam's apple, and I guess I should clarify, when your daughter has a lot of testosterone in an Adam's apple.
The GMOs, man. The GMOs, chemically induced, man.
100%.
You know, steroids in her food.
That's the way you gotta look at it.
So then, let's go to let's just real quick. We also, and there's no solution on that. I just wanted to talk about it. One of the things that I did also have kind of an idea on was Clock Bomb Kid, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the topic.
Ahmed Mohammed was his name, a young Dallas pupil.
Was it actually pronounced Ahmed, or was it
Ahmed?
Because I feel like if we start pronouncing it Ahmed, and that's the name of the Jeff Dunham character, I think there's going to be a negative association there, and I don't necessarily know.
I think
we don't want to promote xenophobia on this show.
There already is a negative association there because his name sounds awfully Muslim.
Well, because his parents are Middle Eastern, and he's Middle Eastern descent, and he is in fact Muslim. He is
a Muslim American.
He is a student of the Quran, which is okay in America because there's no law that says that you can't have a Quran or a Buddhist monk tablet or scroll or whatever it is that they use. I mean, I'm not too versed on that.
Scientology's legal, and you got to pay to join that church.
Yeah, Scientology. I don't want to get into that.
That's the topic for another time.
They're listening, I think. They listen to everything on the interwebs. They look for their name and they sue you. Tom Cruise is behind it all. It's crazy. But so obviously there's a thing there with this young gentleman who, for better or worse, was arrested because he brought a briefcase with a bunch of wires and motherboards and a digital display on it to school. We as a people are conditioned to think that a bomb is what we've seen in the movies, that it will fit in a briefcase and that it will do catastrophic, devastating damage. But he's in an area where I don't believe there's a lot of predominantly white, or it's a predominantly white area. I don't believe there's a lot of, minority interaction down there, especially of the Middle Eastern descent. And so was this an overreaction by the school? And if this was an overreaction by the school, because I want to get the full thought out there, if this was an overreaction by the school, was there an equal and opposite overreaction by the president inviting him to the White House, NASA sending him a bunch of crap,
and Microsoft? Microsoft sent him a bunch of computer parts and crap because, that's what they do. He was invited to Harvard out here in Boston. He was invited to MIT out here in Boston. This kid got a lot of fame for what he did. And I feel like this was a poor reaction by the school and an equally poor reaction in the other way to kind of negate the fact that this 14-year-old was arrested. And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So basically, I heard this part of the story. So what happened was he brought his clock into school. He showed people in the classes he was attending, and first period he showed the clock to some his fellow students and teachers, and they said that looks great. Second period he did it again. Third period, so he was obviously very proud of what he built. And, for a 13-year-old person to create that kind of clock, I mean, he's obviously a very bright person and, advanced for his age to create something like that. So I think he got to one of his last periods, and one of the teachers was like, okay, it's time for you to put it away. And I guess he got a little bit angry at it and said, no, I'm not putting it away. And the teacher was like, no, listen to me right now. We need you to put that away right now. And it's when the teacher got up, looked at it to see what was in there when he took it away, and got scared and called the police. Now, personally, I think this could have been handled by the principal, the people at the school. I can understand from the teacher's point of view. I mean, it's a scary thing. Anybody could bring bombs in. And I'm sure, him being Muslim did play a part in, the police getting called and then getting arrested.
Absolutely, he did.
It's stereotypical, it's ingrained in us to think bomb. A kid created something that looks like a bomb and he's Middle Eastern, it has to be a bomb. But I mean, really, did he really need to be arrested? I mean, I just find that to be ridiculous. I mean, people at the police department should have came down, looked at the briefcase, or brought that in the bomb squad.
I'm sorry.
I agree. I think this is a complete overreaction to to his race and to our perception of what a bomb actually is. I'm sure if you talk to returning soldiers from Afghanistan and Iraq, they'll tell you what a bomb looks like, and I'm sure it doesn't look like a clock put inside of a small case.
Any teacher, and who knows, this teacher could have been, an English teacher or a non-science teacher. They could have got fearful of it, and especially he was so hesitant not to put it away, and the teacher did ask him several times to put it away, and he didn't. I can understand why they may have called the cops. No, it's just I think it's ridiculous he got arrested. I can't understand why they didn't evacuate the school, bring in the cops or the bomb squad to come in and look at it. Saw that obviously it was just a clock. And, then afterwards said, okay, listen, we're not going to, give you a detention, but please don't bring anything of this nature back to school.
So you're saying that he really, the reason that this escalated so quickly was really just because of the way the kid handled the situation and not so much the parent or the principal.
I think everybody's at fault at this. And I do think the kid does. I think some of the blame does go on Ahmed. I mean, he should. When the teacher tells you to stop doing something, you should listen to them because.
Yeah, Matt, because that worked so much with you back when we were in French class together, and I mean, when you're in high school, you think you know everything. You think you know better, and you are not going to listen to your teacher of all people because you think, well, this teacher's kind of a dick, and I don't want to have to hear them. How many times, in school did we fuck off? And when the teacher told us to be quiet, we just pushed the issue. You and I sat in the dean's office for so many French classes in school that it's ridiculous.
Well, an important thing to note, too, is that I think at least half of our high school, or a quarter of our high school was pre-9/11, too. You know what I mean? I'm sure that if, we had brought some sort of clock device into school, we would have probably got the benefit of the doubt. We would have probably gotten hey, this is being confiscated from you, and you're going to get detention or suspension or something along those lines, but not a handcuffs and ride to the police station or to a detention center, wherever the heck the kid went, juvenile center. You know what I mean? Nothing like that.
There's a different story that the media is not mentioning in this. At the end of the day, I think this got resolved, and we as Americans have to be more open-minded. We have to be cautious of what any student, no matter race, ethnicity, brings into the school, but at the same time, we don't have to overreact over every fucking goddamn thing. And I think that was part of what happened. And I think it's just it's the time that we live in. It's the society. We live in fear. We think the worst from everybody. And
I gotta be honest, I think, when we come down to the end of the year, and Tom, you and I actually kind of talked about this a little bit, and when we look back on the year 2015, what we're gonna think about it, and I gotta be honest, I feel like I'm gonna look back on 2015 and think of it as the year that America overreacted at every goddamn thing imaginable.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at last year, Ebola. Remember Ebola? Everybody was paranoid about Ebola. Anytime I went on the train and somebody coughed or sneezed who looked African, people were like getting off the
hold
cart.
on. If you want to talk about, hold on. That's an epidemic. First of all, there was a guy in Braintree, which is very central to us, where this guy, he went in with Ebola-like symptoms, and he was, the whole building had to be quarantined because they needed to make sure this guy wasn't sick. It's a very contagious disease with not a lot of treatment options. Now, what I will say is when my wife had my daughter and she went to the NICU for a couple of days, every time I went in to see her and I had full access, I could go there 24 hours a day. Every time my wife and I went in, they asked us, have you been out of the country? Have you been near anybody who's been out of the country? Do you do this? Have you done that? And I understand. They don't want an epidemic to spread. But at the same time, look how quickly measles has spread to kids who aren't vaccinated. And so I won't say that's a gross overreaction.
That's
oh my
different
god!
episode.
Yeah, the anti-vaccine episode may be the next episode
Yeah.
because I'll tell you, I just don't understand it. I don't agree with it.
Anti-vaxxers.
You are the bane of my existence, all of you.
Fuck tards.
No, but
exactly
I
what they
think
call
when you
it.
look at it, though, we are living in an age of fear. We, especially with the way that news is sensationalized now and the 24-hour news networks that we have. I know it almost sounds cliche because it's been said so many times, but we do. We live in an era of media overload through the internet and through the TV.
Conspiracies as well.
Yeah, and these things it's like they just catch on like wildfire and they spread. And Ebola, the fear of Ebola, even though it is a very serious disease and it's killed a lot of people over in Africa, it probably was overhyped in the U.S. And these reactions to these different events that we've experienced in the last year or two, I think have been sensationalized a little bit, and I can't help but think that sometimes it is for somebody's personal gain or a group of people's gain, but
Or
it's
xenophobia, or to play a part on the race of people or
could be
nationality.
could be as well. But I'm sure those are all episodes for a later date to talk about.
Well then, let me ask you this: are you guys ready for Off Fuck It?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So, ladies
Jordan,
and gentlemen,
go ahead.
If there's more than one person listening to this, this segment, this little thing that we have going on here, is Off Fuck It. It's a 2-minute, up to 2-minute uninterrupted rant at the end of every episode, where one of us takes a turn and we give our thoughts on fuck it, which is whatever we want to do. So, without further ado, fuck Starbucks. Starbucks is the bane of my existence, and here is why. Okay, I want to paraphrase this by saying I love their coffee. Their Pike's Roast is delicious. I want to go in and get it, but I don't want to order a fucking I want to order a large fucking coffee, black with sugar. And you know what the problem is they're going to go, oh, well, do you want the sweetener or do you want to put it in yourself? You can go to the bar. Do you want room for cream and milk? No, I said black with sugar for a reason. On top of this, they had a release party for their pumpkin spice latte. You had to be a special person. You had to have special permission to get their pumpkin spice latte this year. Do you know what their pumpkin spice latte tastes like this year? Poison. You want to know what their pumpkin spice latte tastes like? You take a little bit of potpourri, you simmer it for a couple hours in your house, and then you fucking drink it. It is terrible. And I believe I'm going to say that they started the trend of pumpkin spice everything. My wife bought pumpkin spice Milanos. They are fucking terrible, awful, goddamn things. They are the worst creation I have had the mispleasure of putting into my mouth, and that's only because I didn't buy pumpkin spice gum. Pumpkin spice gum, folks, is out this year by Wrigley's. These are the same people who brought you Juicy Fruit, which is great for 30 seconds because you get this incredible sugar rush and all this flavor, and then you get a hard, gross, disgusting piece of gum to chew. But on top of that, have you ever been to a Starbucks? I want you to go to your local Starbucks, and I challenge you all to find a Starbucks that doesn't have some yuppie asshole sitting at a table with a Starbucks cup of coffee in a mug because he had to order it special in a mug because he's going to sit there forever. And I challenge you all to find that yuppie asshole who doesn't have an Apple computer. And the only reason I say that Starbucks is the root of all evil is because they were founded before the first Apple store opened. The first Apple store opened in 2001 to sell their retail crap. Their crap books. And I don't trust Apple stores. You go into an Apple store and you have to wait 45 minutes for an appointment that you set online that you had to set 3 days ago because you can't get seen without an appointment. And when you walk into Starbucks, which was founded in 1971, thank you very much, Seattle, these fuckers, you go in and there's this guy who sits there all day on his little MacBook and he's FaceTiming, he's got his iPhone in one hand, his iPad in the other hand, and he's doing all of his shit. What do you do that you can sit in Starbucks like that all day and use their energy and their mug for your use. Fuck Starbucks. Fuck pumpkin spice everything. I'm over it. Fuck it. I'm done.
F Starbucks. Oh wait, I said F. Fuck Starbucks.
Fuck
man,
coffee
we are
shops in
unfiltered
general.
here.
And I'll tell you another thing about fucking people sitting in a coffee shop having conversations or conversations with themselves. Let me just tell you something. Coffee is a beverage. It's not a fucking culture, okay? And this fucking Friends show that came out 10 years ago, when did it finish? 10 made it seem like it's cool. Oh, you go to the local coffee shop, your independent coffee shop, and you feel all good with your fair trade fucking burnt charcoal or whatever the fuck it is. You sit around and you go, oh, how was your life? Oh, mine's just so much. Fuck that. I fucking hate that. I hate people who sit in coffee shops, have conversations with them. Go to the fucking bar, okay? I know it's expensive to get a drink now, but go to the fucking bar. This coffee culture shit, and now they want to serve beer at the I'm done.
All right, guys. Well, I thank you all for tuning into the first episode. Hopefully that ended on the note that you were going for. I don't know that we think it did, so we may have to revisit. Fuck it, because that may not have been our best moment. But you know what? I think that's the moment for us to not have that end the episode. On behalf of Tom and Matt, I am Jordan. This was Misguided Musings.
And by the way, everybody, make your own coffee at home so you don't have to go to those fucking cesspools.
I do. I make my own Starbucks coffee at home, so.
Hey, Don, how's it going?
Living the dream. I'm actually just getting ready to do this commercial.
Oh, you mean the commercial where I tell our listeners to tune into Gear Network every week to listen to our show, Get Ready America? That one?
Yeah, John, that's the one.
They can also listen to us talk about news, sports, whatever's on our minds, that.
And a little what's on our listeners' minds, but they're just too nice to say it.
Well, that, Don, is a real humdinger.
Humdinger.
Come join us this and every week for Get Ready America exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
And the Gear Network app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I am Ryan Wolf.
It's Mr. Perez.
And I have a question for you, Perez.
What's your question?
Do you like to listen to people talk about sports?
No. Of course I like sports and listening to people talk about sports.
Well, guess what? I have the perfect solution for you.
Solution for me?
There's a podcast on this very network.
This network?
Every single week you can hear it.
Really?
New content, latest and breaking news. We talk about baseball, football, hockey, basketball, soccer, UFC, whatever you want to talk about.
So sports in general.
They talk about sports in general. You got it.
I like it.
You know the dictionary.
I like it.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I must say, tune in. We are better live than dead.
You're not.
Every single week. You're not going to want to miss it. Exclusively here on the Gear Radio Network.